Hi there, folks. Welcome to the A Minute to Midnight Show. This is Tony coming to you back from New Zealand. Now I am back in the country, and so this will be the first time for a while that I've actually had a guest on and been back in New Zealand instead of in Pennsylvania. So had a few issues, haven't we? This is my guest Joanie, just sorting out because this is the first time. We used to use Skype and we couldn't use that anymore, and we've had issues, so we're trying something new today for recording. Good. Welcome, Joanie, anyway.
Well, thank you for having me on. Yes, it was a little bit difficult, but nevertheless, here we are. Thank you, StreamYard.
Yeah, we're using StreamYard because we both have computers that are too old to use the latest version of Microsoft Teams. We can't get the app downloaded because, this is the reality of things now with no more Skype and old computers. So technology is outpacing us. Anyway, hopefully this will work using StreamYard today, and we have quite a few things to talk about. And, well, I think, Joanie, probably maybe the most obvious thing staring us in the face at the moment is this whole Jeffrey Epstein saga, right?
How can you ignore it? I mean, really, it's the one thing that it's probably no doubt the one thing that we should start out with, because it is the big sucker punch to the American people, probably to the rest of the world. I can't believe what they must be thinking about us. And, there is, I'm trying to find the right words, and maybe I shouldn't try to be too careful. I think that maybe it's in the best interest to just be ourselves and just say it like it is. Everybody in MAGA base is frying, hopping mad.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm not political, but yet I live in this world, and I do look at prophecy. We're part of the end. So for those purposes, I keep my eyes open and see what's going on. And so one of the major things that Trump promised is, and especially when he hired Bondi, is I'm going to arrest everybody immediately. I'm going to put everybody in handcuff and put in prison. And he was talking hundreds of people, and Epstein wasn't even the issue at that point. He was talking about defunct Democratic, he was on a revenge tour. And people would probably hear me saying revenge tour. I don't want to get into the semantics of stolen elections and so forth. I want to just get to the point and say there were so many things that he promised that have never happened. Okay. And so when this Jeffrey Epstein thing came about, the MAGA base, and not just the MAGA base, all of us were going, well, if there can be justice with those pedophiles and for thousands of children, some that are not alive, and we absolutely hope that will happen. And so we were really guaranteed by Pam Bondi and by Trump and his administration that this is it. We've got the files. All of us are aware, and we have watched Pam Bondi being interviewed. I've got the files on my desk. I'm still going through them. There was another video I saw where she was being interviewed, just off the cuff. Somebody asked her about the Epstein files, and she said so many words, but the point was there are thousands of videos that we have, and thousands. She said hundreds, but it turns out that there's thousands of people, children that were involved. Okay. And so then we have Trump saying we have the files. She has the files. They're on her desk. And so everybody's saying, this is it. This is it. So when we heard the news by Bondi, we have concluded that the case is closing. There is no Epstein files, no list.
Yeah.
They like to say files. It's going back and forth from list or files. Like, what is it, right? So it's what I'm hearing, and I'm just recently reading, is that they downloaded all of those videos and information. So that's why they refer to it as files. But there's hard evidence, okay? And so you can't help but hear a ripple effect, a thunderous ripple effect of people screaming mad. What just happened? How could he have done this? I mean, weren't you shocked, Tony?
Absolutely. I mean, no one expected that, I don't think. And there are just so many anomalies with this. There was millions of angles we could go in, but I'm just going to quote a few bits out of an article from Michael Snyder that summarises some of the things. Just give us a sec, and I will just. He's got a bunch of points. I won't read the whole thing. I'll just go through some of the points that he raised. Number one, why were Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell arrested and charged with operating an enormous sex trafficking ring that supposedly involves thousands of clients if no such clients ever existed? So that's number one. There's a whole lot more info with that. Number two, why did US Attorney Pam Bondi tell Fox News in February that Epstein's client list was sitting on my desk right now to review if no such client list ever existed? Number three, what was in the thousands of documents related to the Epstein case that was suddenly discovered in February? Number four, when Bondi claimed that Epstein flight logs would make you sick in March, what did she mean by that? Number five, in May, Bondi confessed there were tens of thousands of videos related to the Epstein investigation. What was in those videos? Number six, other than Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, why hasn't anyone else that was involved in the sex trapping operation ever been arrested? Number seven, the memo that was released on Sunday night says there will be no further disclosure in this case. Does that mean that the Trump administration's search for the truth ends here? Number eight, the memo also states there's no evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. Does this mean that none of the men that were having sex with underage girls will ever be brought to justice? Number nine, on the night that Epstein died, why were there so many strange coincidences? The jail had been told Epstein should have a cellmate and that the guard should check him every 30 minutes, but on the night he died, his cellmate was transferred and not replaced and was not checked on as often as required. 2 guards fell asleep at their desk, later falsified their records. Meanwhile, 2 cameras in front of Epstein's cell malfunctioned that night, while another's footage was unusable. And then number 10, 10 hours of video footage from outside Epstein's cell on the night that he died has been released. Did they think that we wouldn't notice that a full minute has been cut out of that video footage? Number 11, during the time that Elon Musk had unprecedented access to the government's computer systems, did he learn some startling truths about the Epstein investigation? If so, will he reveal what he knows now that he has started his own political party? And lastly, number 12, why was this memo about the Epstein case released to the public late on Sunday night on the 4th of July weekend? Were they hoping that it would make as little news as possible? So, I mean, there's a lot more that could be said on it, but there's a whole lot of discrepancies. And you can't tell me that it was just Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. We obviously know there's more powerful people than Trump that don't want their names put out there, and who knows about Trump himself, but I'm
a believer
crazy.
He was on it. I make no apologies for that. Because when you're the most powerful man in the whole world, really, White House, American president, and you throw your entire White House power under a bus like that, you can't help but have just normal reasoning and saying, why would you do that? Because right now on Truth Social, there is a meltdown happening right now.
Yeah.
There's a major meltdown. And I think that we're so, because, we've been through so many things. Like, you can't talk about Trump. You can't say this. People get really mad. Most of us, and I think there's more and more than ever, like millions of us, hundreds of thousands of us, where we're tired of tippy-toeing and saying, look, if a person is guilty, look at his response when and we won't make this whole video about this. But when the reporter asked him a question about the Epstein list, well, I call it the list that doesn't exist now, okay? And he instantly, gets angry. This is like the next day. And he's like, why are you bringing that up? We have a flood going on in Texas, and there's other stuff we want to talk about this flood. And the guy was just asking a question. And so he was completely guilty looking. And that's just not me. And I'm not trying to look for something that isn't there. But the way he clapped back, and not to mention what he's doing now, like his recent statement on his Truth Social, is he was saying, because he's being called daddy now. And he says, all my boys and girls. I'm like, are you serious? You're calling your MAGA base, because I'm not your girl, okay? You're calling this MAGA base all my boys and girls. We have a wonderful government. It's like a wonderful government. This is a massive criminal issue, because the names on there are tech titans. You have major Rothschild names. There's a lot of people, and I don't have information in front of me because this is just a short thing, and people really can do their own research. Really. I mean, if you really want to know, it's not a hard thing. And so, there are some very serious allegations by certain people that are taking him to court that were there. Ghislaine Maxwell, where there was not even one witness. She's in prison, and there was not even one witness.
And
so why is she in prison?
Jeffrey Epstein supposedly committed suicide, for something that obviously wasn't that bad, because there weren't that many people involved. Obviously, there weren't any clients. A lot of rubbish, of course. And then that Guthrie, I forget her first name, the blonde woman that, was the accuser, she's dead as well. And there was some audios that came out claiming to be her, a dead man switch, saying that various people, were involved in that. Was going to come out more and more information about some of these people. But I don't know, within this day of AI, it's possible to use somebody's voice and then create something that sounds like them. So I don't know whether that's a genuine audio clip of her put out before she died, or whether someone's doctored it up using her voice. But whatever the case is, we know this is way bigger than just sweep it under the carpet like the Trump administration is now currently trying to do. And it's just like the faith in government from average person is pretty low anyway. And this is just...
It's shattered.
It's shattering.
It's shattered.
Yeah.
Because he has everybody, including me, right? Because we have been tormented as at least a nation, and everybody else who's listening from other countries, is we have heard nothing but the most horrific stories about that place, where thousands of where pedophilia. Look, it's an elitist thing. It's initiatory. Okay, when you get up into that high globalist elitism, and you're getting all those little girls. Okay, it's not just it's a pedophile orgy. It is I can't say the word. I just said it ago. It's what initiates do. Okay, you have a young girl, as young as it can get, and it's part of your initiation into that global circle. So all the people, because I've been doing research, okay? So not that I know all the names. No one does know. No, people don't know all the names, of course, but yet we do know.
We know some of the names, but we probably best not to hear them.
No. We're not mentioning names.
Yeah.
I think everybody watching right now says you don't even need to do that. It's not necessary. But what would happen is it would collapse the country.
Yeah. And
If
possibly
that
the world
list,
governments, because it goes beyond just
possibly the
America.
world,
Yeah.
because for Trump to protect, and people might go, he's not protecting. Well, you know what? There's some there's proof of the most horrific things that were going on at that island. And it's interesting because that building was built like a temple. And not to mention, but remember when the federal agents went in there during the when they raided his place?
Yeah.
Okay, they arrested him and they had federal agents go in there and search that building that looks like a temple. And so it was made known to the public that there was a whole lot more in that temple, that there was an underground room where they suggested some very serious things, which we won't talk about right now, that were happening down there. So, yeah, I mean, everybody's angry because I don't want to keep repeating myself. It's obvious why everybody's mad and why we're all in shock that you're saying there's now no list. And one more thing, because I just want to say this. And then Dan Bongino, I've never seen him look so bad, because Bongino, Kash Patel, remember they were like, oh, no. They were, saying, no, it's all wrong. You don't understand. So today I saw him. I'm like, he looks terrible. His face I have never seen a face look so miserable. It was tight. He was angry. It was such a face where it threw me. And he was yelling on his own podcast, calling out the FBI, saying, you released that list. And I'm like, he's trying to save face, because now he's saying, fresh off the hot press, he's saying today, calling out the FBI, pick up the phone, call now, give us the list. So it's like, it's ridiculous now. So you have this group of people where you have Pam Bondi and Trump saying there's no such a thing as a list, and Kash Patel's kind of staying in the shadow. Now, then you have Bongino. In a way, I'm looking, not really in a way, I'm like, he's doing personal damage control.
Well, isn't it interesting too that not that I like Elon Musk at all, I don't trust Elon Musk, but that he said, a few weeks ago that, that Trump's on that list, and it's really interesting that Trump's basically hushed it all away, and you've got people on the left too, not only the MAGA base, but people on the left are angry as well. So you've got a lot of people that is going, something's wrong here about this whole situation. But then you've got some of the media, the mainstream media, going, oh, it's just proving that the conspiracy theories were wrong again. They're jumping on that, using conspiracy theorists to make you all seem like nut jobs or something, which is that same old playbook that they've used since JFK, which is another thing. The promised disclosure about various things like the JFK murder and all of that, and nothing really much has come out of that either. I remember Trump and Musk saying, oh, we're going to investigate Fort Knox and have a look and make sure all the gold's there. Well, that's gone quiet as well. We've heard nothing about that. They didn't do anything about that. There's a whole bunch of stuff. It's like there's damage control going on. They're trying to hide all sorts of things, I think, at the moment.
Because everything he said he was going to do, he didn't. Now, I want to move on. Is it okay if I
Yes, definitely, yeah.
I think we've beleaguered this enough and people know pretty much what's going on. I want to talk about this alligator Alcatraz. I guess it was a couple months ago he wanted Alcatraz because he's on this major Gestapo, Nazi-esque. And I've been watching, I've been actually rather for a while obsessed because I cannot believe what I'm seeing. Okay. And so it's an obsession. I shouldn't call it an obsession, but I was obsessed for a while. I'm not obsessed anymore because I've seen enough. I get the whole thing. So I want to do a disclaimer here. I get the fact that when Biden was in office, he opened the borders, millions upon millions of people came in. I get that our social services have been completely taken advantage of. We had Venezuelan gangs here, the Trinaragua. We had cartels. I mean, all of that. So I'm all for, like, yes, absolutely deport the
Yeah.
murderers, the rapers. You know, and then, you know, you have an element of people that are here that are not legal, and they're taking advantage, and then of course the taxpayers are paying for it. So we're hardworking and we are tired of it. Okay. But something happened. It went out of control. So I started watching endless, like I was watching it, Tony, I think because I was so in shock that at first they were gathering, you know, arresting these, you know, those that had a criminal
Yeah.
background, a criminal
Yeah.
records. Okay. But then it started to go crazy where you're seeing like 5 cars slamming brakes, you know, screeching into a parking lot, grabbing women that are this short, holding babies, ripping their babies apart. Women are screaming, they're
You mean
fainting.
not ripping the baby apart, ripping the mother from the baby. That's what.
You have
Yeah.
one officer, because they're federal agents, and you have one of them tearing the baby. And I say ripping, tearing, because the mother is hanging on like any mother would
Yeah.
to her baby. And they're pulling the baby and she's screaming. I've seen women throwing up. I've seen women fainting. And we're seeing, like right now, the farms, no one's showing up at the farms. We have thousands of workers that were deemed essential, ironically, during the COVID lockdown, right?
Yeah.
And so there are fields upon fields, farms upon farms in California and other parts of the United States where they're lost crops. Okay. And today I saw that Kristi Noem was saying we're going to even press down harder because this big, beautiful bill just, I'm not sure about the amount. I want to say $10 billion they have put into the ice, into ice. Okay. So now they, to me and to a lot of people, they've become like Donald Trump's personal little army. Okay. And they're violent. I've been watching, I mean, I must have watched 1,000, and every now and then I still watch them. They don't just walk up and say, hey, they don't ask you for anything. They don't ask to see your ID. They don't ask if you have a green card. They're arresting farm workers. There are hundreds upon hundreds of construction sites that are completely empty. Okay. We have to understand that there are people that have been here for 50 years. There are people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. They're arresting them. They have zero criminal record. Okay.
Yeah.
83% of the ICE arrests in San Diego County were from people with no criminal record. Okay, so this Alcatraz thing, I'm sorry, I know I'm talking a lot, but I just got to get it off my chest. I just got to say it, okay? When he wanted that Alcatraz island, I was like, you got to be kidding me. You got to seriously be kidding. Were you watching a movie? Because where did you get the idea that all of a sudden I just want to open up Alcatraz Island? I want to put him there. Like, what's your deal with this major? I want to have everybody arrested. Okay. Well, they couldn't do that because it would have to go through Congress, and that wasn't going to happen fast enough. And so he's thin-skinned and he doesn't like to lose. Next thing you know, we hear that in the middle of the Florida Everglades, on a strip, a 39 square mile area of an abandoned airport with a landing strip, they have put all of these tents that are accommodating. They're just tents. They're not even buildings. They are tents, Tony. And each tent houses, I forgot how, and it's all chain link fence. I know people have seen it, but within each chain linked cubicle are 32 people. For every 32 people, there's 3 toilets. And they drink water from a spigot on top of the toilet tank. Okay? They're fed, these are all men, 18 years and pretty much older. They're fed very little food. I mean, there's legit reports coming out, okay? I watched one where a woman was having a baby at a hospital, okay? And there was ICE agents standing outside of the hospital waiting for her to have her baby. As soon as she gave birth, within the time that they cleaned her up, they arrested her. Okay? There's women that have miscarried in there. One woman miscarried at nearly 8 months pregnant because she couldn't get help. They had her sleeping on a floor. You have uh, you it's they're arresting people that have been here. Like, for instance, what his new law is, if your parents are undocumented, let's say you're my age, I'm 63, okay? Let's say my parents, I'm half Hispanic, okay? My grandparents came from Chihuahua, Mexico, way back in the day. They're legal, okay? My grandmother came over the border to Texas in a covered wagon, okay? And they were hard workers, very hard workers. But if your parents are undocumented, they legally can now deport you. They want to, it's theoretically, they can deport you if they feel like we want to place you in, there's other countries, 3 have been named. I think one is Nicaragua, whatever. I'm not going to say because I want to be careful. To deport people who don't know the language. They don't know whether or not they're going to be tortured when they get there. They don't know anybody there, and you're going to put them there. Okay? We're not talking about murderers, rapers, violent criminals. Okay? We're talking about people that are working the farms, baking bread, nursing homes. Nursing homes took a major hit in Florida. So another thing too is Laura Loomer. I was so devastated when I heard her say this. She said, and maybe I'm not saying it in perfect quotes, so everybody forgive me, but she said, I would like to see, I'm paraphrasing, I would like to see every Mexican in the United States sent to Alcatraz Island and let crocodiles have them for dinner. It was something like that. I was like, you got to be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me. Is that what America is? Because I do not recognize this nation anymore. It's like it is an absolute police state. It is, it's so chaotic now. People are getting so angry. There were 3 little girls that I know of that were undergoing cancer treatment. Okay? That's verifiable. Cancer treatment taken away. There are children that are in the back seat of the car and they're smashing a window in, and it's a nice car. You could tell everybody works, okay? And the women, people trying to get their documentation out, they don't want to see it. They're dragging women out of the car and they're just leaving the kids sitting in the car. There's no police presence to take over. I mean, the most tragic stories are coming out of this, not to mention all the animals that are left in people's houses. I mean, one man was like, I have 6 children at home. Children. And people are like, I have documents. They have arrested veterans, because there was a deal that was made that if you are from Mexico and you serve in the military here, then you are granted citizenship. They have arrested a lot of veterans, okay? A lot of veterans. One guy recently, he has been here for 50 years, a veteran. They arrested him. They deported him. You're here this long. You don't know anybody in Mexico anymore. You don't have, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that would be like trying to deport me to Chihuahua. I don't know anybody in Mexico. So there's so much abuse. And, there's a lot of people, like, I was really grieved, to be honest with you, Tony, because, on Facebook, I saw there was one woman and she was like rejoicing in it, like, let's go, Donald Trump, let's do this, let's deport all of them. And I thought, you can't just wave your arm over the entire populace of the United States and say, let's do this, Trump. It's like there's a big problem, which I want to go over. I want to say one more thing about Alcatraz Island. It is absolutely dangerous there. They are intense. There are pythons, hundreds of alligators, okay? And Trump was making a joke. He was being interviewed. I have it right here, and I'll say it really quick. It says Trump jokes about immigrants who escape Everglades facility. And the reporter says to him, with alligator Alcatraz, the idea is if an immigrant escapes, they will be eaten by alligator or bitten by a snake or something. And Trump replies, I guess that's the concept. This is not a nice business. If snakes are fast, but alligators, we're going to teach them how to run away from alligators. Okay, if they escape from prison, how to run away. And I was so offended because he said, don't run in a straight line, run like this. And he was doing this. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you talking about? You're talking about, this is turning it into a humanitarian crisis. Because this went way far. And now, after that No Kings uprising, remember there was a No Kings, like the whole nation erupted into No Kings.
Yeah.
He was offended, and he's like, okay, now because he was offended, because of his stupid parade, which was the most embarrassing thing anybody could. I mean, I was so embarrassed. I was like, I can't even bear watching it. He was angry about that because it wasn't the way he liked it. He said it was too joyous. And he was offended about the No Kings. So what he did is he said, now I'm going to, I don't know if he used the word accelerate. I think he did. I'm going to accelerate the deportation. So every time he gets more offended, he wants to deport more people. I saw a video today of an Iranian girl actually having a seizure, a grand mal seizure on the ground. And an ICE agent was on top of her, like not straddling over her, but like his arms were over her body, and she's in the full-blown grand mal seizure. And her father's like, she's having a seizure. And they're like waiting for her to stop having a seizure to take her away. I mean, really, is this what America is? Really, think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I read a week or two ago this one case of a woman that's an Iranian that's been in America for 50 years and married. She's married to an American citizen, and they deported her because she'd come on a student visa thing, some sort of a visa 50 years ago, and there'd been like promises, along the way. But because she hadn't been granted citizenship or whatever, they deported her after 50 years. It's just like, this is crazy. But I just want to shift a little bit because you and I, neither of us are leftists, right? We are not saying Democrats are good or anything right? So we I believe this is the end times, and we're seeing the results of godlessness, and Jesus has told us a lot of these things are going to happen in the end. So it doesn't matter which party's in place.
It's the same bird.
It is. It's two wings on the same bird, or two heads on the same phoenix, double-headed phoenix. But what I want to do is say, look, there are a lot of Christians, the Seven Mountains Dominionists types and all of that are, Donald Trump's God's man, we've got to get him in there, and God's going to bless America and all of that type of thing. And I still see them. Some of these people have got rose-tinted glasses on, thinking this is great. America's going great under Trump. And it's like, Joanie, I can see a backlash coming against Christians because Christians are going to be seen to have been the ones that empowered this. And down the track, I think there's going to be a big whiplash return on Christians, and we're all going to be tarred with that same brush, even though we haven't all taken that stance, because it's a false doctrine, the whole Seven Mountains dominionist thing. And I'll let you, if you want to carry on with that. Yeah.
With the NAR thing, okay, and we've spoken about it before. It's a New Apostolic Reformation. It started in the 70s, okay? It started in the 70s with Bill Bright, Lauren Cunningham, and then after that, it was C. Peter Wagner who started the New Apostolic Reformation. We know Lance Wall now is an architect of it. But I want to take it further back because I want to take it so far back that people probably are not aware of it. Some people are, but very few. And this is absolutely vetted. It is studied. It's real, okay? After Jesus died and rose again, and then it went into, the martyrs era, we had the 10 persecutions and so forth. Well, after that, you hear a lot of people say, well, the early church fathers said, and, Tertullian said, or Irenaeus said, or, Clement said, and, we have all these early church fathers that I used to even quote, okay? Because I'd say, well, if they say it, and if they do say a lot of stuff, like I've read, not a lot, but I read enough. I wanted to know, like, for instance, Clement, who was brought up by I believe it was Peter. So anyway, just to get to the point in a thumbnail sketch, when those church fathers came up, they saw the Jewish program, they believed it ended. They just thought, well, they were taught, right? And they looked, because there arose a common belief in those schools of philosophy in Alexandria, Egypt, okay, is that the Jewish program ended with Christ. And so they were actually extremely anti-Semitic. I'll send you a little video after this. You can offer it to people if they want it, okay? And the quotes that come from their own books are so radically anti-Semitic. So what am I getting at here? Is that they started a new thing. And it was instead of the kingdom on earth, because there was a program for the Jewish nation, but that's in the millennial kingdom after the second coming, okay? And it started with the early church fathers. That NAR began back then, okay? So NAR is very anti-Semitic because the church replaces Israel. The Christians replace the Jews. All the Old Testament, this is replacement theology, all the Old Testament covenant promises, they're a covenant people. The covenants are set aside right now. Remember, there's been a divorce. There will be a remarriage. The new covenant will be ratified after the second coming, where they become the chief of nations. You can look it up in Jeremiah 31, verse 7. Okay? But what they're doing is now they're taking replacement theology, is they don't see those promises as being theirs, that are exclusively for the millennial kingdom for the Jews. So they're taking it as those are our promises. And so that's why it's a kingdom on earth, because when Jesus talks about the kingdom of God and the kingdom of heaven, there's a difference. They're not the same thing. When Jesus says the kingdom of heaven, he's talking about something future. The kingdom on earth, when he comes in his second coming, when he sits upon the throne of David. And the kingdom is on earth, and there's a rule and reign for 1,000 years. The kingdom of God is an internal kingdom. It's the new birth, being born from above. becoming a new creature, a new creation. So, but what they want to do is they have a 7 mountain. They're calling it 7M now. Okay, so the 7M, their worldview asserts that believers have a responsibility to influence the societal structures with Christian values. This ideology suggests that by impacting these 7 areas, they can help usher in the second coming of Jesus Christ. And the 7 areas are religion, family, education, government, media, arts, entertainment, and business. So they believe if they go out and they go into all these 7 spheres, that if they go into all these 7 spheres, my earring just fell off. I'll just take off the other one. That they will create a Christian power base in each one of those things and impart all those Christian promises with this authority that they think that they have. Because, I know women, and I just, because I don't get around men, but like I've known so many like women that are into NAR, and they would send me texts saying, hurry up and pray, agree with us in prayer. So-and-so was shown right now that there's a portal opened up over the White House, and we're going to pray through the portal. And it was just insanity to me, because what they're trying, it's an emergence. And let me explain to you where they get the 7 mountains. Okay, there's 7 hills in Rome. And there's 7 mountains that are mentioned in Revelation chapter 18, which they see as Babylon, the modern Babylon of here, Mystery Babylon. And that every one of those 7 mountains respond to what I just said: family, arts, media, entertainment, government, but that they're evil right now. So their mandate is to get into those evil spheres and win them over for Christ and create a Christian globalism, which turned into a nationalistic gospel through a man named Trump, who's not a Christian. He's the furthest thing from a Christian. And so it's turned into this ugly MAGA, Make America Great Again. It is a cult. It is dangerous. It's scary to me. And this is a dominionism. It is I have a note here. Dominionism is the theocratic idea that regardless of theological camp, means, or timetable, God has called conservative Christians to exercise dominion over society by taking control of political and cultural institutions.
Which is totally not found in the gospel. I didn't hear Paul talking that, or Jesus, or Peter, or John telling us we have to influence the political world and make it ready for Jesus to return. It's not scriptural at all.
There's nothing in the Bible that tells us, Jesus says, go, all power in heaven and earth has been given unto me by my Father. Therefore, go ye forth and baptize, all the people. Because look, it's every tribe, language, nation, and people, which goes back to Trump. I'm like, he's got such hatred for, and he uses the word hatred. He's like, I hate the Democrats. Well, you know something? When you start using the word hate as a national leader, you have power to influence people with hate. I was reading in 1 John today. Hate is the same as murder. All scripture is God breathed. If Trump is really the believer that he has Caroline Leavitt trying to convince everybody that he's a Christian, then you can't be up there saying, I hate this, I hate the Democrats. Look, people are people. Okay, this is a world of sin. And the only way, like peace He wants to be known as the Prince of Peace. There's not going to be any peace until the Prince of Peace, mighty God, wonderful, wonderful counselor, mighty God, until he comes and the government will rest upon his shoulders. And he'll have dominion over all the earth. All nations will bow down before him. All kings will sing unto him. They will bring presents unto him. Okay? So, prophetically speaking, we're looking at a nation that's 249 years old, and it's crumbling. Because I am watching this nation that I have lived in all my life. I don't recognize it anymore. This big, beautiful bill, it's only for the rich. It has gutted Medicare, Medi-Cal. I'm probably getting it wrong. People are going to probably try and tell me that. But I'm not here to try to be perfect, okay? Just I want everybody to know that. It's not about me trying to be perfect and getting everything out perfect. But we're hardworking people. You know what I'm saying? You're a hardworking person. Most of us are hardworking people. I've got a mother in a nursing home on Medicare, okay? And every penny she makes goes to that nursing home. But we were told that her Social Security, it's not going to be taxed anymore until I found out. You have to make a certain amount of money, which she nowhere even gets near that. So she'll still be taxed. Her Social Security will still be taxed. I wanted to read something, Tony, if I can, because I took this quote. You know who Sean Ryan is? I like Sean Ryan. He has a podcast. And this was a comment on one of his shows. And I want to read it. He said, somebody wrote this, some person. So if you're listening, thank you. When the American empire finally collapses, historians won't be stunned by the greed of the elite. They'll be stunned by the loyalty of the poor. The working class didn't just vote against their own interests. They worshiped billionaires robbing them. They slashed their own benefits, gutted their own health care, and cheered while the rich wrote off private jets as tax deductions, not because it helped them, but because they were told it would hurt someone else. And that right there is how you rig a democracy without even breaking a single law.
The other thing too is the big beautiful bill has put in big finance for more surveillance and AI and all of the things that are going to be used to control people. That's right there, and people are applauding this bill, the MAGA people and the NAR.
And I want to say something about Maha. Okay, we have Kennedy. Okay, we're like, I like Kennedy. He's right on. He says all this great stuff. It's true. He's been valiant. He's been uncompromising. He's stood for it. He's been rejected by the whole Kennedy family. I mean, he's been consistent. He's awesome, right? Like all of us have been like, well, if there's any right person in there, it's Kennedy. Until recently, he just said, and Catherine Austin Fitz, I watched a video of hers today, where she was calling him a Judas goat.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anybody knows what a Judas goat is, but I don't know if I need to say anything. But she quoted him saying, I want to see every American be digitized.
Yeah. Yeah, what he wants wearables. He wants every American to have wearables.
That's what it is. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's what he said. I would like to see every American wear wearables.
Yeah, which I covered that a couple of weeks ago. I mean, basically that is it. That's you may as well be saying I want everyone to be part of the B system and be monitored and have every heartbeat monitored and all of that. Basically, yeah, he's
and not to mention ICE has now been given permission to have complete unlimited access to everybody's healthcare records. Because that's another way for them to see who's illegal. I'm all for deporting. I really am. The right people that need to leave, right? Yeah. But when you start saying, I'm going to start digging in and I'm going to find out who's who. I saw one, Tony, this woman looked like she was 78 years old. She was probably this big, and she was flat on her stomach, and there was an ICE agent with his knee in the middle of her back. I'm talking white hair. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Because they're violent.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. All of it is pretty crazy. But like I think we've got to realize that this is the way the world's going. And I mean, America's really in the forefront of it at the moment, but it's stuff's happening all over the world. And we are in these end times, and it's not going to go away. And it doesn't matter if you vote in a different political party and a new leader in somewhere, it's not going to change the direction that it's all going. I've said it before to people, you might have, you've got an end goal that's here, and they might take you this way to the left, or they might take you that way to the right, but the end goal is the same. And they'll keep people believing they're going somewhere else. But really, they're still going to this point here, which the Bible tells us is coming, with the mark of the beast and all of that. And you can get rid of this current system, whichever country you're in, and think, we'll put a different party and a different person in, and it will not change the direction. That we're still going in that direction to that point, which is the mark of the beast and so on, and eventually Jesus' return. That's the good news. But people need to get off this political bandwagon of thinking that if they just change who they vote for, it's going to change the direction. And this whole thing with Trump and that base of dominionists with the prophecies of Lance Wall now and all of these other false prophets, and even people, like I've interviewed some people and said, you've got to vote for Trump. You have to, as a Christian, you've got to do that. And it's like, no. We're not called to be political here. We're not called to say, you've got to vote for some politician or other. We're called to spread the gospel and the truth of the gospel and, and basically live our lives for Christ. Not live our lives to vote in a politician that'll give us a new paint for our white picket fence.
And unfortunately, because of this Christian nationalism, it has completely taken a hold of everybody's relationships.
Yeah.
It's like I am neither Republican and I am definitely not a Democrat. I'm not independent. I have nothing to do with any of it. I want nothing to do with any of it. But I'm watching what's happening. And look, there's a reason, and I guess maybe we can close by talking about this. Let's talk about the Lord, because we've said enough, and what we said. But listen, we're well aware that we're alive for a reason. We're not here to pick a side. Jesus says to a governor, my kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, then would my servants fight for it. But now henceforth it is no longer of this world. Is not of this world. And Jesus says, you're no more of this world any more than I'm of this world. And in another place it says, as Christ is, so are ye in the world. So those three things are our mandates. Look, this world is going to go. Remember when Peter took the sword and cut off the ear of Malchus' servant? Jesus said to him, Peter, put up thy sword back into its sheath. Remember, he said, I don't need you. You don't need to save me. He said, he was displaying that divinity part of himself. I at this moment, I can call and I can ask my Father for 12 legions of angels. It should be given unto me. But the Son of Man goeth as it is written. You see, because everything in this book is written, Genesis to Revelation, and not every detail is in here. But I praise God not every detail is in here, because let me tell you something right now. If everything that we're experiencing is not written in this book, but if we were to have everything written in this book, then we would become like little gods. We're people of faith. And you know what? We're here for a reason. And all the wars and all the fights and all the deliverances and everything that he has brought us through is not so we go, well, we some kind of like downward kind of trajectory. No way. God says that he's going to fulfill all our days. Wherever we are in our respective lives, be that believer. Seriously, let his light shine in you. You know what? I always say to Jesus in prayer, Lord, let the world have the world. This world is dying. It has a shelf life. Everything in it has a shelf life. It says in Psalm 102, 25 and 26, of old thou hast laid the foundation of the earth, and the heavens are the work of thy hands. They shall perish, but thou shalt endure. Yea, like a vesture shalt thou change them, and they shall be changed. But thy years shall have no end. This is putrefaction, because every nation is being readied for a man that the way it's looking right now, they're going to be like, we'll take him, because it's trending that way. So what are we? I kind of find it quite awesome that we are, I believe, this last generation, that we are seeing and witnessing these very last things before Jesus Christ comes again. And that we get to be a part of it, not part of the Democratic Party, not part of MAGA, not in a campaign to make one nation great again, but to serve our great and soon and coming King, until either we pass away and go home to be with the Lord before that time, or he comes and we're here, right?
Yeah.
Because he is coming again.
Absolutely. Okay, so we better leave it at that. Joanie, where do people find you online?
Well, they can either find me on YouTube or Rumble. It's very simple, Joanie Stahl's Field Notes.
Okay, and folks, remember us, aminutemidnight.com. Please subscribe to us, and also if you want to donate, we run 100% by donations. You can do that at aminutemidnight.com as well. So thank you, Joanie. This has been an interesting discussion. It's kind of a difficult time that we're all living in, but we have to just remember to have faith and trust that the Lord knows, and he has a plan and purpose for each of our lives. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome.